Welcome to the TExES 391 Core Subjects EC6 Test Prep course. This lesson covers Subject Exam Number 1, English Language Arts and Reading, number 901, and is presented by Teacher Preps. Thank you for being here. Let's get started. In this lesson, you will learn everything you need to know in order to pass your exam, all about competency number 1, which is all about oral language, which reads, the teacher understands the importance of oral language, knows the developmental processes of oral language, and provides students with varied opportunities to develop listening and speaking skills. Let's start by discussing the basic linguistic concepts and developmental stages in the acquisition of oral language, including phonology, semantics, syntax, and pragmatics, as appropriate for students in grades 4 through 6. Phonology is the study of sounds in language. It means that a person can both understand and produce the language. Semantics deals with the meaning of words and sentences. The key word here, understanding the meaning, comes from a child's ability to understand vocabulary. By grades 4 through 6, children can understand words in different contexts, comprehend expressions, and recognize multiple meanings of words. Syntax refers to the rules governing the structure and arrangement of words in sentences. In grades 4 through 6, students can comprehend and use complex sentence structures, including subject-verb agreement. As a reminder, subject-verb agreement means ensuring that the subject and verb in a sentence agree in number and in person. Also, on your exam, you'll want to know subject-verb inversion, which is when the usual order of a subject and verb is reversed, often for the sake of emphasis or to form questions. Let's look at an example. The statement, which we can call in normal order, is the cat often sits on the chair. And the question, or inverted order, does the cat often sit on the chair? In the statement, the order is subject, which is the cat, followed by the verb, which is sits. In the question, the auxiliary verb does precedes the subject, which is the cat, illustrating an inversion to form a question. Next topic here, we have pragmatics, and this is the study of meaning in relation to context. You're going to want to remember that for your exam. Pragmatics examines how context can influence the interpretation of messages in communication. Students in grades 4 through 6 begin to grasp how tone and situational context and nonverbal cues can alter meanings. For your TExES English Language Arts and Reading 391 Subjects Exam Number 1, you'll need to know about the following statement. The beginning teacher plans and implements systematic oral language instruction based on informal and formal assessment of all students, including English learners, fosters oral language development, and addresses students' individual needs, strengths, and interests in grades 4 through 6. Let's get you ready by studying now. Planning and implementing systematic oral language instruction includes 5 major sections: assessments, curriculum alignment, scope and sequence, lesson planning, and differentiation. For your exam regarding assessments, remember that the test administrators want you to differentiate instruction based on students' individual needs, strengths, and interests. Provide additional support for struggling students, and create opportunities for advanced learners. The overall lesson that the test administrators want you to know is that you will adopt materials, instructional strategies, and assessments to meet the diverse needs of all the students in your classroom. Next, we have fostering oral language development, which can be achieved using the following techniques: providing a language rich environment, using modeling and giving feedback, building vocabulary, and setting a purpose for the learning. Now, let's examine each in detail. Creating a language rich environment means facilitating a classroom environment that encourages oral language development, providing opportunities for meaningful interactions, discussions, and collaboration among students, incorporating a wide range of authentic texts, such as literature, informational texts, and multimedia resources. For your exam, be on the lookout for answers related to modeling effective oral language skills and providing explicit instruction on communication strategies, such as active listening, turn in talking, and respectful dialogue. Offer constructive feedback to help your students refine their speaking and listening abilities. Vocabulary development, let's talk about it. This, we can integrate vocabulary instruction into oral language activities, which is all about this competency. Directly teach word meanings, context clues, and word learning strategies to enhance students' understanding and use of words in speaking and listening contexts. Here we have authentic purposes. Make sure to provide authentic purposes for oral language use by connecting language instruction to real world applications. Engage students in tasks that require effective communication, such as presenting research findings, delivering speeches, or participating in debates. Semantic instruction rooted in relevant assessments is vital. For your exam, you'll need to understand the importance and techniques of both informal and formal oral language exams. Let's dive into this now. Informal assessments are typically observational, and they capture spontaneous use of language in various contexts, such as conversational exchanges and student presentations. Informal assessments often offer insights into a student's comfort level, spontaneity, and practical application of language. Now let's discuss formal assessments. These are more structured, such as standardized tests or pre planned activities aiming to gauge specific oral language skills. Formal assessments provide measurable data and can pinpoint proficiency levels in areas like vocabulary, syntax, or phonology. Now, let's talk about addressing students' individual needs, strengths, and interests. Each student comes into the classroom with their own individual set of experiences, skills, and challenges. It is the job of the teacher to provide standards based instruction that meets the needs of all learners. When you see a question on your exam about providing instruction for English language learners, remember that a teacher needs to modify instruction and provide additional support for our English learners. Incorporate visuals, gestures, and real life examples to aid comprehension. Use scaffolding techniques such as graphic organizers and sentence frames to support oral language production. And remember to foster a culturally responsive classroom environment that values and respects students' linguistics and cultural backgrounds. Now let's talk about what you'll need to remember if you see a question on your exam about a student who has special needs. Make sure to modify instruction and provide accommodations based on students' individualized education plans, usually called IEPs or 504 plans. Studies show that students learn better when the student is interested in the topic and the way it's presented. To heighten student learning, incorporate students' interests and experiences into oral language instruction to increase engagement and motivation. Provide opportunities for students to explore topics of personal relevance and make connections between their own lives and the content being taught in the classroom. Moving right into the exam's next description statement, in this section, we'll discuss the standard of designing a variety of one-on-one and group activities to build on students' current oral language skills. Designing engaging activities is essential to foster oral language development in our students' abilities and skills. By providing varied opportunities for one-on-one and group interactions, discussions, questioning, and information sharing, teachers can effectively build on students' current oral language skills and enhance their communication abilities. Let's talk about what you'll want to know for your exam, all about individual discussions. Engage in one-on-one conversations with students to promote meaningful exchanges and improve their communication skills. Encourage open-ended questions and active listening to facilitate a deeper understanding of the topic. Provide opportunities for students to express their thoughts, opinions, and experiences. Now let's talk about how to design effective, engaging activities. First, make sure you utilize different types of questions, such as open-ended, probing, or hypothetical questions, to promote students' critical thinking and expand their vocabulary. Next, encourage students to provide detailed responses and support their ideas with evidence. Finally, guide students through thought-provoking questions that stimulate deeper discussions. Students need opportunities to share what they're learning. As teachers, we can provide opportunities for students to share personal experiences, knowledge, and interests. Encourage students to use descriptive language and express themselves effectively. Incorporate activities such as show and tell, show and share, presentations, or favorite books and articles that they want to share with their teacher and their classmates. Group activities can give students the opportunity to work with all students in the classroom during different types of activities. Teachers, for your exam, be on the lookout for answers that include form small groups and assign topics or texts for students to discuss, and ways to organize debates or persuasive speaking activities where students present arguments and support their opinions with evidence. When designing a classroom activity, provide scaffolds and supports based on students' individual needs. Select a range of authentic texts such as literature, news, articles, informational texts that align with the students' interests and abilities. Differentiate activities based on students' language proficiency levels, interests, and learning styles. And provide constructive feedback to students, focusing on areas for improvement and highlighting their strengths. Up right now, we have our next statement. In this section, we'll discuss the standard in your exam, which reads, the beginning teacher selects and uses instructional materials and strategies for students in grades 4 through 6 to enhance their oral language development while responding to their individual needs, strengths, interests, and cultural diversity. The exam administrators want to ensure that you know all about the importance of instructional materials and strategies for promoting oral language development in students. By considering student individual needs, strengths, interests, and cultural backgrounds, teachers can create a supportive learning environment that fosters effective communication skills and embraces diversity. When considering selecting instructional materials for your students, make sure to select materials that cater to diverse learning needs, including visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learners. Consider students' strengths and interests when choosing materials to enhance engagement and motivation. Select instructional materials that reflect cultural diversity and provide multiple perspectives. Now it's time to talk about strategies for enhancing oral language development. Use read alouds to engage students in discussions, make predictions, and ask questions. Introduce new vocabulary words and phrases related to the texts or topics being studied, and use explicit vocabulary instruction techniques such as context clues, word webs, or word walls. Organize structured discussions around texts, current events, or thought provoking questions. Utilize audio-visual materials such as videos, podcasts, or digital resources to enhance oral language development. Relate oral language activities to real-world situations such as role-playing, simulations, or debates. And integrate writing activities that support oral language development, such as reflective journals, dialogue writing, or storytelling. In this section, we will be covering the exam standard about providing instruction that interrelates oral and written language to promote students' reading and writing proficiencies. Understanding the interplay between oral and written language is crucial for promoting students' reading and writing proficiencies. By integrating oral and written language instruction, teachers can enhance students' overall language skills and facilitate a deeper understanding of literacy. Next, as teachers, it's our job to teach students to speak to various audiences for various purposes. While taking your exam, be on the lookout for the following instructional strategies that would be appropriate to teach students a variety of speaking methods to a variety of different people. First, we have model speaking skills. By providing clear and concise instructions, explanations, and presentations modeling appropriate intonation, pacing, and body language during oral communication can really help our students. Also, use think alouds to show students how to adapt their speaking style to different audiences for different purposes. Our next approach is called explicit instruction. Teachers can provide explicit instruction on speaking skills such as voice projection, articulation, and using appropriate language for specific contexts. Teach students strategies for organizing their thoughts and delivering coherent and engaging speeches. And scaffold instruction by breaking down complex speaking tasks into manageable steps. Another excellent instructional strategy to teach students to speak to a variety of audiences is to use role-playing and simulations. When using these approaches, remember the following. Engage students in role-playing activities that require them to speak to different audiences or assume a different perspective. Conduct simulations or real-life situations, such as interviews, debates, or presentations, to develop students' speaking skills. Provide feedback and guidance on effective communication strategies during role-playing and simulations. In this section, you will learn all about your exam standard, which reads how to teach students listening skills for various purposes and how to provide students with opportunities to engage in active, purposeful listening in a variety of contexts. While taking your exam, if you see a question about listening, remember that there are these main parts to teaching listening that you're going to want to know for your exam. The first is explicit instruction. And this happens when the teacher selects a specific listening skill, such as focusing attention, taking notes, and asking questions to clarify understanding. Note it's best when the teacher selects authentic audio resources, such as podcasts, interviews, speeches, or recordings that represent different genres, topics, and purposes. Next, the teacher needs to provide a correct model of the expected behavior. The teacher can do this through one-to-one interaction with a volunteer student from the class or through modeling how to collaborate in a small group. Then it's the student's turn to practice what they've learned, for which they can use the same methods shown for the teacher modeling or showing others too, such as writing their listening in a journal, demonstrating their active listening skills through drawing a picture of what was said, or simply repeating back a summary in their own words. In this section of our test prep course, you'll learn all about the exam standard, which states how to teach students in grades 4 through 6 how to evaluate the effectiveness of their own spoken messages. Teaching students to evaluate the content and effectiveness of their spoken messages includes these three categories. First, instructional strategies and instructional activities, as well as instructional materials. Engage students in reflective discussions where they analyze and evaluate their own spoken messages and those of their peers. Encourage students to provide constructive feedback and engage in self-assessment based on specific criteria such as clarity, organization, supporting evidence, and delivery. Model the process of evaluating spoken messages by analyzing examples of effective communication and identifying key components such as clear main ideas, supporting details, persuasive techniques, or engaging introductions and conclusions. Next, remember to provide students with speeches or recordings of proficient speakers to analyze and evaluate. Also, develop or use existing rubrics and checklists that outline the criteria for evaluating spoken messages in order to involve students in creating the evaluation criteria, which can include aspects such as content, organization, language use, delivery, and overall impact. Utilize multimedia resources such as video recordings or online platforms that allow students to record and review their own spoken messages. This helps students critically evaluate their own performances by watching or listening to their recordings and identifying areas for improvement. Next, we have engaged students in analyzing and evaluating presentations or speeches given by notable individuals, such as TED Talks, political speeches, or persuasive advertisements. As a teacher, we can also organize debates or structured discussions where students evaluate the content and effectiveness of arguments presented by their peers to analyze the strengths and weaknesses of different perspectives and to provide evidence-based evaluations. Next, we want to provide opportunities for students to engage in role-playing activities or skits where they can create and perform their own spoken messages.